shooters, loaders, and casters. Welcome to the Georgia Shooting Connection Friday Night live stream. Happy Good Friday to all you nice folks out there. Let's start going through the room. How was your week, CW?
Hello, everybody. Pretty good week. We had some nasty weather, but pretty good week. I got to the range yesterday. Had a good time. Got a couple of videos done. Pretty good day. Pretty good day. Supposed to have 80 degrees tomorrow here. So we'll see how that goes.
Wow.
That's crazy. We had snow last weekend. Mike, how was your week? Good to see you, by the way.
Man, been a pretty good week. Weather's been okay as far as temperatures. We, for some reason, nobody told March that the March winds was over. So anyway, we got to get a phone call in to March, and it's like, hey, come on, we're switched over the April showers now. So, but it's been a good week. Actually, did get to shoot a few videos this week. Terribly windy, but hey, it's just nice to be back out on the range. So, yeah, great week. How about you, Six? How's your week, buddy?
Oh, it was pretty good, pretty good. We was on vacation last week, went to the Texas State Championship Cowboy Meet, and we had a blast there. 275 shooters there, so had a great time. Had to come back to work on Monday, though. It was a good week at work, too, so.
Good deal.
That's about it for me, so. Well, Gene.
Yes, sir.
How was your week, man?
Oh, how you doing, everybody? Week was busy at work. Did a lot of main work, did a lot of side jobs too. Trying to keep everything together. Been working on that BMW K1600 bagger. Lots of parts in the garage stacking up for it. I'm going to try to get everything done on it. I've been busy reloading some 10 millimeter on the side, getting ready for some USPSA matches, shooting limited 10 with a 10 millimeter 1911. So I got that all done and tuned in. Now I'm just progressing on stocking up on some ammo for it. Tomorrow, I'm going to go. I was invited to guest artist at one of the oldest shops in Columbus, Ohio. So I'll be over there all day tomorrow working and tattooing, which is that's a privilege and an honor to be invited to do something like that, to guest artist in someone else's studio, Yeah, so I'm really proud and pleased and looking forward to spending some time with some like-minded individuals.
That's cool, Gene.
Very cool. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm going to have a lot of fun. Other than that, it's good to be here tonight. We got another good topic for everybody. And then, so, Mr. Viejo himself, the California Casanova, how are you today?
Hey, life's good out here on the west side. It's been kind of breezy over this way too, but that's what we expect until probably June. Then it becomes foggy all morning long instead of windy. But yeah, good week going on here. I got to the range, got some bench work done. I had acquired a new firearm, a new Ruger Blackhawk in 41 mag, so I took that out to the range and shot not too many rounds to it because Magnum. And Magnum and arthritis, those two words should not be in the same sentence, but it happens once in a while anyway. So that was kind of fun. That's a nice revolver, as you guys know. And let's see what else. Not really a whole lot else going on other than the usual, suspects. I got a couple videos out. I'd gotten that one mold gifted to me by one of my subscribers. It's almost a unicorn hen's tooth mold that Lee doesn't make anymore, and it's one of the best bullets they ever made. I don't know why they don't produce it anymore, and it's a wad cutter for 44 special. It's a great bullet, but they don't make it anymore. And I had found some time ago a single cavity mold, and so I'm in there casting away one at a time. In about 4 hours, you get enough for a day's work at the range. Well, again, one of my subscribers says, "Hey, you know what? I got 2 of those in 6 cavities. I'm going to send you one," and he did. And boy, that was quite a gift because I'll never I'll never see one, I'm sure. Anyway, so that was great, and I got a video out on that this week. So, other than that, life is rocking and rolling along here. We got a few more surprises in store for in the next couple of weeks that you guys will be seeing. But for now, let's drop down to the rebel himself, Mr. Hester. How'd your week go, buddy?
Store wise, we were busy for this time of year. I don't know if people are anticipating their tax returns or whatever, despite all the gloom and doom on the news. With the tariff thing, people seem to be upbeat about the future and the economy, and that always is a good thing. It's been not breezy here. It's been plumb windy, and I'm aching to fish in my new boat, and I've got a new Garmin system on it. I've tied no less than 60 bass flies this week, about that long to that long, and my fingers are killing me, but I'm ready to go try some of them out. Some of them I put up for sale, and some of them I just put in my own box, and the guy I'm going fishing with, he said, "Well, I've got some gear for you." I said, "Dude, I've got fishing gear. It's no big deal. Do you doubt a fly rod?" "Yeah, just a little bit." I said, "Well, you just hang around, watch out." I said, "They land 150-pound tarpon on fly rods. I'm not worried about a bass." So we'll see what happens. Kyle, it's to you, buddy.
Where?
Right there.
Apparently, I'm just in time. Sorry,
Yep.
I'm late. Sorry, I'm late. I've been involved in certain conversations, and I'll fill everybody on that later. What did I miss?
We were just telling everybody how our week went.
Okay, y'all don't want to hear my story then. Moving on.
Dang.
All
You
right.
catching the nads or something?
I had a wonderful conversation with friends and family, and just got out of the shower, and here I am. Getting ready to go back at work at 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeehaw.
Yeehaw!
Dang nabbit, boys. All right, so welcome all of our panelists, all you guys in the side chat. We're so pleased to have y'all. Tonight is Good Friday. Y'all know that's a very special time for all of us, and especially believers and Christ followers and church-going type folks. But maybe we'll do something a little special for the verse of the week this week and get back to our 7 I.M. statements next week. And the topic for the night is we've been tracing the progress of rifles, and not just rifles, but lever action rifles in particular, because they're uniquely American. The bolt action rifles and other style rifles, there's lots of videos out there on YouTube about those and about the lever actions as well. But Red Raiders out there 18 wheeling again. Good to have you, buddy. But we want to take just a second to thank all of y'all for joining us on Good Friday. It's a very special day, a very special weekend as we celebrate what the Lord Jesus has done for all of us. And we'll get into that more later. But we want to talk about the 1876 a little bit. We've been talking about talked a little bit about the Spencer, very little bit, but we talked about the source being the volcanic and the Henry repeating rifle. and how it was the cartridge that it used, and that's all going to come into play a little bit tonight with the 44 rimfire. The 73 was the Winchester centerfire, the 4440 Winchester centerfire cartridge that it used, and the 73 was exceptional in its quick handling and repeating capabilities, and you had a good payload of cartridges in those 73s. They sold 750,000 of those things, but there was still a need as the people went further west and encountered more and more hostilities and more needs. They needed a more powerful cartridge, and the people out there saw the government using the 4570. So requests started making their way back to Winchester for can you make this rifle in a 4570 like the government uses? Well, we know the design of the 73. We know the basic toggle system they had in the elevator that comes up. And their idea was to just beef everything up. Like Walk said earlier, it's just a 1873 made larger. And it is, but it wasn't without problems, and it wasn't without issues. The thing is, that elevator that carries the cartridge up to the chamber has to be the exact length of the cartridge. So when you've got a bigger cartridge, and we'll show a clip of a video in a few minutes, probably after we call out the side chat, we'll get to that little clip I've got queued up over here, and it'll show you the differences in the size of the 76 versus the 73, and it'll show you the size of the cartridge. And we're probably going to get a copyright strike, but this guy explains it quicker and he shows it where I can't. So I know Walter's familiar with the 4440, and I know Six is familiar with the 1873. Y'all, anybody else on the panel got anything to say about those before we move into some of the problems they had developing the 76?
No,
Weren't there several issues or issuances, like the first and second and third models or something, that they made some changes progressively on that one? I can't remember what the
On the
details were.
73?
On the 76, wasn't there? They made a few with the first rendition of it, and then they did a couple other things to it and sold some more. And then I know they only sold that thing for like 20 years or something.
Actually, they when the 86 came out, the demand for the 76 just pretty much evaporated overnight. But they still have,
22 years they made it.
Okay.
So even after the 86 came out, the 76 was still being produced with basically leftover parts that they had made, and they were after the 86. So basically, for the next 12 to 13 years, they were making them, but they were using parts that they already had, and they were like they'd get orders for them and then make them up and that kind of thing. But it was a much bigger and heavier rifle. So what happened was there was a need for more power in the Western frontier, and the 73 was quick. It was light. It was quick handling, 7 pounds, and it was accurate. But it was still powered by basically a pistol round, as we all well know, and that was very favorable for gunfighters. They really liked having a rifle and handgun and only having to carry one load of ammunition for it. But they really wanted more power, and they wanted that 4570 cartridge. But as we reloaders know, the problem with that is that the 4570 cartridge came in a lot of different bullet weights. So y'all know what that means. With different bullet weights, you got different
lengths.
bullets, and you've got varying cartridge overall lengths, which means that that elevator has to be the same size. So how was Winchester going to work around this problem? The answer was they're going to come out with their own proprietary cartridge, and they're going to make it with one bullet weight. You can only get it in one bullet weight and only one cartridge overall length. So they developed the 4575, and when we show we'll show that clip in a little bit. There were basically two main most popular loadings for the 4570, and that was the 405 grain cavalry loading and the 500 grain infantry loading. And of course, that meant different cartridge overall lengths, and the full length of the elevator had to fit exactly. If it's too long, obviously it's going to jam going up. But if it was too short, what would happen is the cartridge would slide in to the elevator and allow a little bit of the next cartridge to come in the elevator too, and that would jam it up. So it had to be the exact length. And they made that they made the 4575 available in only one bullet weight. The case looks a lot like a Martini Henry, and it fired a 350 grain bullet between 1,300 and 1,400 feet per second. So they scaled up their 1873 to fit the size and the pressure, and it still is using that same Lincoln toggle system, only bigger everything, bigger links, bigger receiver, a bigger elevator, bigger magazine tube. But over the next 10 years, they brought out 3 new cartridges. One of them was the 4560. It's a straight wall case like the 4570. Then they came out with the 4060, which was a neck down version of that, the 40 caliber. And then they went the other way and necked it up to a 5095. And obviously that was the most powerful. So they were shooting the 4060 shot a 210 grain bullet all the way up to the 5095 350 grain bullet, and they're all shooting between 13 and 1500 feet per second, and they're all black powder cartridges. And if y'all remember us talking about the 73, you knew that we know that they had you could spend extra money to get extras options. Basically, I think the carbine was 24-inch on the 76, and it had a 9-round capacity, and then the rifle was 28 inches. I think it had 12 or 13 rounds, and then the rifle was, I think it was 32 inches or 34 inches. I forget exactly, but it had a bunch of them. So it held a lot of rounds. But think about the firepower. If you were walking around with 9 to 12 rounds of 45-70, and the gun still works smooth like that 1873, but that's pretty slick, man. That's really pretty slick. So for that particular time and space especially. So you got lots of firepower. The mechanisms just scaled up, and of course you had the same options as the 73 as far as the stocks and the shoulder, the butt plate, and silver trim and scroll work, all that stuff. So, questions or comments?
I was just going to say, you talk about the big old long barrels with that big old heavy bullet, but still moving it pretty fast. I guess if you were a hunter and you were out in the Great Plains where there's not a whole lot of cover, your shots probably were pretty long distance, often enough to warrant the use of a firearm like that, where you could really reach out and then do some damage when it got to wherever it was going.
Yeah, well, they were very popular, but only with that niche group that needed that. Like you're talking about the buffalo hunters, and
Yeah.
They said Teddy Roosevelt had a 76 in the 45-75, and he said it was excellent grizzly bear gun.
I'm getting a little ahead of ourselves, and I'll bring it up later. But you were talking about the mechanism had to be the exact same length as the cartridge. Even later model, like Marlins, like 1960s, 70s, whenever they came out with the first 44 Magnum, they had 3 different manufacturers of carriers, and some of them worked and some of them didn't. And it was just like you said, except you go to eject or load around, and the entire 44 Magnum would come out of the tube, and in other words, it'd try to load 2 and it'd lock the gun slap up. A friend of mine has one like that, especially if it got a little wear on it. So, but I'm getting ahead of ourselves. So,
But it accentuates the point, though, Reverend.
it's a complicated mechanism, more complicated than people think.
It's overall simple,
Yes,
but the
It's
little
all about-
nuances are very complicated.
It's all
exactly.
about the timing in it, to make sure everything's in position where it needs to be when your different things are going on.
Yep.
And the bad thing is the short stroke. Yeah, Walks is helping us out over here. The 76 weighed about 11 pounds, and standard rifle was 28. The carbine was 24, I think, and I think the musket was, I can't remember if it was 32 or 34, but I think it was 32. And of course, you could order them in any length in 2-inch increments. There's Tim S. We're going to go through the side chat here in a minute. But think about that long of a rifle with an octagon barrel on the end of it. It'd be very front heavy. It just about had to be. But I love the look of an octagon barrel. Nobody got anything else? We'll get to that. Before we get to the to calling out side chat, we need to talk for a minute about our get together. I'm glad I remembered to talk about this, but we're going to do a meet and greet at Rebel's store. Help me out, Gene and Rebel. June 30th, July 1st at Bullseye Sporting Goods in Vale, North Carolina.
Vale, North Carolina.
That's
Yeah.
about
That's what y'all said.
That's about 20 to 30 minutes from Hickory. There's Paul Loud. We're going to call out side chat in a minute. So we want all y'all that can or might be willing to come over and meet up with us and go shoot with us, maybe break some bread with us. So we want to get that out there. And we've been talking about it at the end of the show, but we want to talk about it a little earlier this week.
It'd be really nice to meet some people that we just see on the internet, you know, just like we have, Jamie.
Absolutely.
You know, actually
Yeah,
get to meet-
it's always cool because you get this personality of people just talking to them on the internet. Then you meet them in person, and like, hey, you're exactly you.
yeah. I mean, like me, I met Kyle once, and that was enough. No, just
You've met me more than once, Gene. Get the hell out of here.
And,
You met him once for the first time.
Yeah, once the first time. So, it's really interesting and cool to be around different people that you talk to through the internet and through comments and on chats and stuff, and then you actually get to see them in person and get inside their personalities and stuff.
Well, let me tell you, for all of y'all in the side chat that have never met any of us, we're all the exact same person that we are right here.
Oh, most definitely.
Matter of fact, sometimes we can get a little crazier, but in a good way. In a good way, we have a lot of fun with it.
Get some of that bar water there floating around, and
No, I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about Chico being squatted down behind his car in a lounge chair, and nobody can see him till he reaches up to grab his cup.
That was really fun. I think Garage Guy's coming. There he is. Just showed up.
Speaking of it,
Tread's going to be there. But anyway, mark it down on your calendars. June 30th, July 1st at Bullseye Sporting Goods in Vale, North Carolina. And
I will see if I can get off work on that Monday, but I do not think I can get off work on that Tuesday. I don't have the clout to, be saying I just won't be here.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, well, good for you. I just started this gig, and I'm not wanting to, kick it right in the bum right now.
Man, I've turned into like foreman at the shop now. I'm training Javier on how to do everything, and so everything's being left to me out there now. So it's like, man, Andy gave me a little bit more of a raise for doing it, so I'm happy.
I'm hoping I can come up there on like if I can get off on Monday, I can come up there on Sunday, and me and Gene can guard the store overnight and make sure nothing happens. And I can leave out Monday and come back home. That way I can go to work.
Like I say, y'all better be real still because emotions are really sensitive.
I'll leave the dogs at home.
Garage Guy, we're talking about June 30th and July the 1st. And Tread, let us know where you're staying, and we'll try to book a hotel in that, book a room in that same place.
Tread's trying to stay on my couch. I told him he smelled too bad.
All right. All right. So
Jamie, it's not that far for us. What was it? 2 hours, 15 minutes, something like that?
almost 4.5 hours, Kyle.
Oh, good God. Oh, never mind. I'm thinking dead zero.
So Garage Guy's coming. Tread's coming. Me, Gene, and Rebel will be there. Hopefully, Kyle. Maybe.
Yeah, that's right. We got to go through South Carolina and then get into North Carolina.
Right, exactly. So let's call out the side chat. Walter, what are we going to have them type in tonight?
Hooty hoo.
1876.
Good deal. Good deal. Walter's first one in. Wonder how he got that so fast.
It's weird. He does that all the time.
Yeah, he does. So
CW beat me a couple times.
we got Walter on the panel and in the side chat. Texas 6 is also on the panel and the side chat. Glenn Davis is out there. CW Longshot is on the panel and the side chat. So is Mike Hester. There's Papa's Place. Tim S is out there. Garage Guy 879. Mr. Pollard's out there. Bama Dad. Info Bros. Ricky Baird. My brother. Tread's going to stay in bail. Okay. Anyway, Tread's out there, obviously. Mr. Edward Petty's out there. He lost his internet a little bit back. So glad he's back. Papa's Place. Walks Fletcher. Tactical Fudge. Run 2A Matters. Alaska 1 Andy. Reloading from the Hot Pot is also on the panel and the side chat. There's Fuku YT. Garage Guy 879, Info Bros, Dwayne 7834, Mr. Pollard himself, MCK, my buddy Mox out there, making me read words, y'all. Making me read words. Ozzy Osbourne's out there, M. Gabriel, my buddy Tread, Dale Pogue's making me read words too, y'all. GGW Outdoors is out there. Go Dogs. Kyle Lusk is on the panel and in the side chat. And there is Harm. There's Paul Loud. CW Longshot. Kentucky Rimfire and Hobbies is out there. And Walks. Fletcher. And absolutely GGW. Go Dogs.
Woof, woof, woof. Oh, sorry.
We have a new panelist arriving as we speak. Mr. Scotsman, how was your week, brother?
It was all right. Good to be here. Good to see you on the side chat. Glad to be here. And what's up, folks?
Hey,
How
man.
you doing? Good to see you.
Let's let me see if I can do this, and we'll take a quick look at that clip I was telling you about.
Which is Jamie E's for saying, y'all just give me a second and I'm going to make this stuff happen.
Well, I'm gonna try.
5, 4, 3, 2.
If you don't have them side by side where you can compare the size, and if you don't have the plates off the side where you can compare the size of the Lincoln Toggle system, and it would look like maybe they are about the same size, but they're really not. One is much bigger than the other. And the reason they had to be much bigger than the other, and I'll show you this right now, is because the cartridges were much bigger than the others. This, my friends, is the cartridge for the Henry repeater and the 1876 or the 1866 Winchester, and this one is a rimfire and copper cased lead bullet. The one in the 73 takes this round, or a round that is very similar to this, and this one here happens to be a 4440. This is a 44 flat Henry rimfire, and so you can see the major difference in power that you would have between the Henry repeater in the 66 and the Winchester 1873 with a centerfire cartridge. Then if you go to the 1876, you now can see the great difference in size between the 1876, the 1873, and the Henry repeater in the 1866. Obviously, there was more cartridges for the 1876 than this one. There was more cartridges of different kinds in the 1873 than this one. And this is the cartridge that they used in the Henry repeater and the 1866 Winchester. And so it would be easy to see that this is the smallest cartridge, that the gun that shot this cartridge would have to be much bigger than this one because it has about double the powder and double the load and more pressure and power. And obviously the 1876 that shot this one would have to be much bigger and heavier built than the 1873. Common sense. As you remember on the last video, we talked about that you had these plates that was on each side. You remove one screw and you can get the plates, the link and toggle system that you have here. So I'm going to pick this up just a little bit and show you this. This is the link and toggle system on the 73, and it is just as smooth as silk, just like the one that we compared it to with the Henry repeater. The only thing that is different on this one than the Henry repeater is that this one has a loading plate or a loading magazine entrance place here. If you look at these two, you'll notice that the rifle on where the lifter is, the elevator is right here. Look at the difference in length that you have here over the 1876. Look at the difference in the size of the opening for the link and toggle system and how much larger it is here. The whole gun is thicker through the receiver area, longer, and along with that, it's a lot heavier. And that absolutely was part of the downfall of the reason the 76 didn't sell as well, is that people who were buying rifles liked the feel of the 73 and how it was light and compact. When they got the 76, it was just a lot bigger, just like a much bigger rifle that you have today in a bolt-action rifle. Now, I want to show you something else so you know why it has to be bigger. The cartridge has to be able to fit in this brass lifter, totally within that brass lifter. If it was too long, it would jam and it wouldn't be able to bring it up. If it was too short, it would jam. Just like the 76 has to fit in this brass lifter. You can see how that works. It has to be almost exact. And that's a key component in order to get these things to work like they should. And I can guarantee I know, because I've been reloading this for a long time and made a lot of mistakes trying to figure out how to make this shoot. Now I'm going to hold up both guns. You can see how the 76 works the same way. I'm going to hold up both guns and show you the great size comparison. There's the 73. It's a little bit difficult because I have to hold them up both at the same time. And there's the 76. Do they look like they're the same size to you?
Nope.
They don't look like they're the same size to me.
That's pretty cool.
Interesting, yeah. Hey, Mark.
Oh,
Welcome to Mark Thomas. What's going on?
oh, not too much. Sorry, I'm late. We were out having a nice dinner. Couldn't be helped.
Good deal. Good deal.
I was late too, Mark. Don't feel pregnant.
Oh man, I do.
So
One of our favorite Mexican restaurants.
I was going to say, you must have ate Mexican.
Oh,
I
I ate
did
my
that.
fill.
I did that last night. Yeah.
Yep, that was us last night. Gotta love it.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, man, I just wanted y'all to see that. That probably get us in trouble, but I probably really don't care.
It's been going long enough. They're probably not even looking at it anymore. But it was interesting enough where it's worth it. All they're going to say is, no bad, no.
Yeah, I know. Six, did you and Walter, did y'all notice how smooth that 76 lever was?
Oh, yeah.
That was sweet.
Yeah.
It's so simple. I mean, but like was said earlier, it's complicated. The idea is so simple.
Yeah.
But they made it work, and yeah, it makes sense now that I saw that with the different rounds, how it can be confusing, and you end up putting the wrong ammo in.
Well,
If you can get the chamber, it'll shoot, but it probably won't chamber. It won't, extract or load the next shell.
that was the Williams Family Museum YouTube channel. So if y'all get a chance and you want to and you want to go look at some more of his stuff, I'm sure he's got lots of stuff about things like that. You saw the inside of that museum. It looked great. I'm going to probably go watch some more of his stuff because y'all know how I am about the old guns. But yeah, I just wanted y'all to see that. I hope you enjoyed it. And but yeah, at this point in time, in the evolution of the lever gun, that very smooth Lincoln toggle system is at its absolute limit as far as power. So think about it.
It'll be the links right out of the action.
Yeah.
Even
And I
been
don't
the-
know if y'all could tell in that video, but those Lincoln toggle contraptions are on both sides of the bolt.
Yes.
And, another thing we didn't talk about was the dust cover, because when the dust cover's not over the top of that action, you can see the bolt, and it's just real skinny, and it's just moving back and forth like that. I can see where they felt like they had to have the dust cover, can't y'all?
Oh yeah.
Well, you got to keep that block from getting dirty and not being able to go up and down.
Yeah. One thing that Ian McCullum, Forgotten Weapons, said about that dust cover was that early in the production of the 76, they left that dust cover off, but because they found out that dust cover sealed that receiver up so tight that if you had a case erupt or split, if your case split, that it would do a lot of damage to that gun. But if you had it open and one split, then it was able to bleed off that excess gas much easier, and it didn't do near the damage to the gun that would happen if it was closed. But they found out that with the brass cases, it was much less likely to happen than with those copper cartridges. You remember the ones they showed with the 44 rimfire that the Henry and the 1866 used?
Well, but it still probably had the same effect on the underwear.
Yeah.
Dirty drawers. Call that big old gun dirty drawers.
That big old gun, 10, 11 pounds. Golly. Can you imagine carrying that all day, hunting buffalo or deer?
That's what horses were for. You were just in charge of holding it when you're shooting it.
Yeah, you don't carry it around.
Yeah,
Horse or somebody else carries it, not you.
right. That's good, Tommy boy. Tommy boy has joined us, y'all. Yeah, Edward Petty says many of them are missing that dust cover. I bet they are. And Tommy Boy says, what modern gun still uses a dust cover?
AR-15.
I was about to say I can think of about 6.
Yeah. Well, there you go, guys. That's what we got about the 1876 Winchester.
You just think 1876 and 1894. What a difference. We go from black powder to smokeless.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
And then you got big medicine.
Yeah, think about that 86. That's about right as black powder's going out and the smokeless is coming in.
Yeah.
Of course, it was a several year process. I understand that. But
It's amazing how few years it took for technology to come into what it is still today. You know, and it's lasted as long as it has.
You know,
That's why they didn't come up with anything better. If it works, don't fix it.
If you're a student of history, really, after the Civil War was the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. That was the beginning, and then all the way up to the Depression. So things progress fast. Metallurgy, blah, 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 you know, cartridge design.
Well, I mean, think about back in the ancient times, you went from bronze to copper to steel in just a matter of 150 years or so.
Exactly.
I mean, it was just night and day from flint to, or stone to flint to bronze to copper to steel. I mean, it was very quick.
They give the Japanese credit for, you know, expert steel making, but they were so isolated that, you know, those secrets weren't shared. So
Right.
China was
And-
the one of two.
And you still can't find too many people in other countries that know how to make a curved samurai sword that is able to stay razor sharp after demolishing a building. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were on to something.
Well, I metallurgy, when they started folding the steel, and people don't understand what they mean by folding the steel, you know, they're laminating it, and to oversimplify it, to make a good biscuit, you're folding that biscuit and making layers. Of course, the biscuit puffs up and it's tender. It's not strong as steel. Of course, we don't have biscuit swords.
Well, I mean, if you make the biscuit right, it's not as strong as steel. But I've been able to cut glass with a biscuit.
Now you could back somebody off throwing biscuits at them because they're trying to catch them to eat them.
Mhm.
Okay, so maybe just as good as a sword.
Maybe.
Think about it.
But it's the
good
same
biscuit. Oh,
it's the same principle. The Japanese even got to the point to where they were putting a softer steel in the core and then a harder steel on the outside.
And then wrapping clay around the ridge to make it curve
yes.
without cracking, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and this all happened centuries ago. And that really didn't carry over. Some of our first firearms, man, I don't know if I'd want to pull the trigger on one or not, you know. Black powder, yeah, okay, I got it. Low pressure, but I get guys all the time asking me if they could shoot an old muzzleloader with a 4198. I'm like, no, you're asking for it, you know, which is a very low pressure powder, but that steel's not made for that.
I see. There's a, and this is actually a weird thing to have in my hometown, but we have a Western Arts Museum, and they have a gun room, and there are all kinds of older black powder, pistols, rifles, you know, lever guns, all that kind of stuff. Even black powder bolt guns from way back when. And all the way up till, you know, the M14s. It's just a firearms exhibit in this museum of the evolution of firearms. And Jamie, I don't know if you ever been to it, but it's right here in downtown, and
I've
it's
been there.
yeah, it's pretty impressive. Or it was when I was there. You had to have a museum curator walk you through it. They wouldn't trust you in there, but
Well, if you're a student of Louis L'Amour and read a lot of his westerns, which I finally caught up with Louis L'Amour 5 years after he passed away, because he stopped writing, when he passed away, and I was able to catch up. But Louis L'Amour was a gun-centric guy, and you would think by just watching black and white westerns that the only pistol there was a Colt Peacemaker. There were many, many, many pistol manufacturers, and people carried whatever they got,
some of them
Because
homemade.
they cost a week's pay. I mean, and guys were coming out of the Civil War and familiar with a black powder revolver, and then they started making conversion kits. But I digress. We're talking about Winchester rifles.
So think about this. On the other side of the world, they're all the militaries are developing their weapons of war, and they're all leaning toward bolt action rifles. What if they had lever action rifles holding 9 or 12 rounds of ammunition at a time, as opposed to a bolt action that held 5?
I don't know how that would have changed, because the bolt action can carry a more powerful load.
And more accurately.
Not just that, but the drawback, I think, is the lever. If you're on your belly in the dirt,
Yeah. You got to
And you
squeak
gotta-
into the side.
Yeah. Think World War One. Those
That's
guys
wonderful.
were in the dirt all the time in those trenches,
that's what I'm talking about.
and that wasn't that far from. I mean, that was just at the, barely after the turn of the 20th. So
Just think of the difference in the firearms from the beginning of the Civil War to the end of the Civil War.
oh yeah,
You're talking about smoothbore muskets and cannons at the beginning, and now you got by the end you got this thing called rifling, which changed the game completely.
like I said, one of my favorite stories was a Union general who rode up to his troops, or a colonel, I can't remember. He rode up to his troops, and they were all hunkered down. They told him to get down, sir, get down. He said, "Are you kidding me? Get up and fire. He can't hit an elephant from here." Just as the slug from the Enfield rifle hit him in the gut and it killed him.
Yeah, the thing about rifling is you can still shoot a bowling ball, a quarter of a mile, but now you have accuracy on your favor. So,
Yeah.
I think that was that Whitworth rifle that he was shot with.
It was. Well, and going back to muskets, a guy who is laid to rest right here, not too far from me, Major Ferguson, who said only God could get him off Kings Mountain, and he was right, because he's still there. They had muskets, and he had the Ferguson rifle was a very innovative breech loading musket that you screwed the trigger guard down and loaded it from the breech, and then screwed the trigger guard back up. So kind of a drop block. And he invented that rifle, but it didn't do him any good at Kings Mountain, because all the boys from Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina were carrying squirrel guns that were rifled, not muskets. And even though he had the uphill advantage, they picked him off.
Rifling's a big deal.
Think about the guy that discovered that, and that was probably a German or Pennsylvania Dutch, whatever. And he pulls something through the bore, and it leaves lines in it. It was probably straight rifled to begin with, and all of a sudden, my Lord, this gun shoots really, really good. I wonder why. And being a reloader, the first reloaders, they said, well, I got all these lines in the bore because of this mandrel pulled through here. Geez, I wonder if that made a difference. And then they start twisting it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird the way that stuff evolved.
Mm-hmm.
So let me change the subject here for a minute. Hillbilly, are you there?
He's somewhere.
Yeah, I'm here, buddy.
Would you like to talk about some of them pictures you sent me today?
Oh man. Yeah, that's something that I've been kind of wanting for a long time. A friend knew that I am a Marlin rifle fan, lever action, and anyway, and knew that my dogs are all excited about it too. And that I had a 35 Remington growing up that my grandpa had bought, and that's one of those deals. It was really kind of my first deer rifle, and he bought it for me. It was mine, but he kept it at his house. And then years on down the road, end up someone had sold it, and so I ended up not getting that one. So I've always been kind of on the look for one, and a buddy texted me yesterday and said, "Hillbilly, I found you a Marlin 35 Remington," and he sent me some pictures once he got home there, and it's a very sweet gun. It's dang, I'm trying to think of the word right now.
Commemorative.
Yeah, commemorative. I couldn't think of it. So it does have the gold trigger in it and the gold medallion embedded in the stock of it, and so it's very, very sweet. So anyway,
the 100th anniversary of the Marlin rifle. It was made in, according to the serial number, and I don't doubt it, it was made in '69 to be the commemorative in 1970 of the 100-year centennial of the Marlin Firearms Corporation.
Yeah, and I was born in 1969 too, so that's like kind of cool too. So yeah. Hopefully, I'll be able to get that rifle, in my hands and to keep and pass down to my grandkids one of these days. So, very excited about it. It's a beautiful rifle. It really is.
Well, I sent those pictures you sent to me to Scotsman, and I sent him everything but the picture of the scope. Scotsman, did you agree with my assessment?
Yeah, you're right there. If the bore is clean, you're right on the money.
So when you go to look at this gun, Hillbilly, you need to take a screwdriver with you. You need to take that lever off. You need to pop that bolt out. Make sure that you keep track of the ejector. and take a look at that bore. And you need to look at that bore and make sure that it's shiny.
Take your scope with you, a bore scope.
Well, I wouldn't take a bore scope. You don't have to take it apart. Do you have a bore scope? That would be ideal. Yeah.
No, I don't have one.
All you got
to
hillbilly, all you need is a good flashlight and a white piece of paper. Lever of the gun.
A good flashlight, and just take your time and look at it. And in all honesty, you'll be able to tell within the first 5 seconds. Honestly, you put that flashlight in there, it's either going to be clean, or you're going to see a whole bunch of shit.
That's one way to say it.
Clean. If it's clean, what Jamie said they were asking, yes, it's worth it.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be the big thing. If the bore's clean or not clean.
Well, yeah, I'm sure. I mean, this thing is pretty clean, and my buddy that has it or that acquired it for me, he knows quite a bit about rifles and stuff, guns. So that part don't worry me much. He wouldn't have bought it if it was shot out or something. So
Yeah, it should look like a intro to a James Bond movie.
And if you have any questions whatsoever, just shoot me a message, man. I've told people many times over the years, guys, I don't care. Email me if you come across something and you want to know what it is, and this, that, the other. Please email me, call me. If you have my number, call me. I'll help you out. Seriously, I don't mind. I love doing this. This is part of what I do. So y'all think it's bothering me, but it's not bothering me. In all honesty, it makes me happy.
Same here. Yeah. And remember, you got a resource here too. I mean, I do it for a living. So
yeah. Well, I mean,
what I started to say was what I always had was a little white piece of business card, and I would slip on the lever gun. I'd slip it in the receiver with the lever open and shine the light on the white piece of paper, and that bore will light up like you wouldn't believe. You can see it from one end to the other.
Yeah.
Another trick is to take a loaded round of ammunition and stick it in the muzzle of the barrel. You can judge how much or little it's shot out by how deep the bullet goes into the barrel.
Well, if you think about it, 35 Remington is not actually underboard, so shooting one out would take, and it being a commemorative too, shooting it out would take thousands of rounds. So
when we're talking about Marlin lever action rifles, I think that the percentage or the likelihood of it being shot out is nil to very low to none.
Well, I have several, Marlins and had, throughout the years and stuff, and, have friends, families got Marlins, and, no matter really, I mean, how much they got shot, I mean, all the ones that I've had in my hand, I mean, they're shooters, I mean, I got, the few older Marlins that still shoot good to this day. So I'm not too worried about it, especially this rifle here, being, a commemorative gold trigger and all that stuff. It don't look like it's been hurt any,
Well,
it's a good thing to look at the barrel.
I don't want to talk about amounts or anything, but
yeah,
how many bags of Doritos are we talking about?
Well, and one of the big things, and not to get into how many bones or this, that, the other, but
Yeah.
when you get into stuff like this and you're looking at these things, for people out there that don't know, for example, you got to look at the basic things. So for myself and Mike, we look at a couple different things that will jump out to us right away. Number one is bore condition. Number two is going to be how the trigger sits. How is the trigger? Number three, you're looking at the blue and you're looking at how the barrel is. You're looking at how everything sits together, and the entirety to itself. How does it function? And a lot of you might be out there going, well, how's the average person supposed to know? Well, you're in all honesty, you're probably not gonna. And that's not to be a dick about it, but you're probably not gonna. We've been doing this for years. I'm not sure how many he's got in, but I got 14. And when you have that many years into it, that's how you know. And it's not to be an asshole about stuff. It literally is just time, people. It's just time.
Well, I've been doing this professionally for 10 and then just being a gun collector all my life. One of the things I look at on a rifle like that is the first thing I look at is the crown, because good old boys are terrible about riding around the truck with the crown down at the floorboard. And if that crown's all boogered up, then everything else is suspect.
Well, put it this way, at the minimum of $2 a round, at the minimum $2 a round, I'm not going to shoot it out in my lifetime. And I don't think my grandkids will either.
You need to start reloading, brother.
I'll
Well,
go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You gotta start getting brass somewhere. And
I've said it many times over the years. Shit, I mean, I've been doing this I've been on the YouTube for what, 10, 11 years, somewhere around there. I've said it from the day I started, guys. If you got questions, if you see something and you want to know, shoot me an email, shoot me a text message. If you have my number, you hit my email, hit me up and let me know. I get so much pleasure out of doing this stuff.
I do too.
People think they're bothering me, and it's like, dude, you're not bothering me.
Hillbilly, that's
you are literally giving me the enjoyment of what I do every day. I've been in this industry so long, and all of this stuff, it literally makes me happy. It makes me happy, and I've been collecting myself for many years, and it's a pleasure. Anytime someone sends me a picture, or someone emails me, or they send this or they send that and go, hey, what do you think of this? Or what do you think of that? Blah, blah, blah. Dude, I'm smiling. I'm fucking smiling. Because it makes me happy. It literally makes me happy. So don't ever think you're causing me a problem or you're doing this or that and the other. You're making me happy.
I can attest to that.
That's the same thing with me. And, Scotsman and Jamie just past week calling me about air guns. I don't mind that, answering y'all's questions.
No. Jamie just sent me pictures, Hillbilly. That's an absolutely beautiful piece. He also sent me how many bags of Doritos it was, and that's probably absolutely in the ballpark. I wouldn't chew at all.
Gene, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready, sir.
Okay, hold on. I'm not.
Womp,
I thought I
womp,
was, but
womp.
I'm not. What's Hot Pot got tonight?
Da da da. Well, I'm going to stay on the average stuff tonight. Okay, so I got something here that we probably all use. Well, most of us do. But maybe we take it a little bit for granted. You know, maybe we do because it's just so common. But what I have here is a 9mm. And this is one of my USPSA rounds that's powder coated with Blunicorn blue nickel case.
Purdy.
That is 9mm. So I got a little two-parter tonight. This is going to be the first, and then I'll bring in another sample that I have. The 9x19mm Parabellum, also known as the 9mm Luger, is a rimless centerfire tapered firearms cartridge. Place of origin was the German Empire. It's been used most military and civilian agencies around the world. World War I to present day. Long-standing history. Designer was George Luger, an Austrian gentleman. Designed in 1901. It's produced from 1902 to present day. Originally developed by Austrian firearm designer George Luger in 1901, it is widely considered the most popular handgun cartridge and submachine gun cartridge due to its low cost, adequate stopping power, and extensive availability. Since the cartridge was designed for the Luger semi-automatic pistol, it has been given the designation of 9mm Luger. Now that's the first part of this. This is a common self-defense round by Winchester. This is a 147 grain lead-filled hollow point. Look at that bad boy. This particular brand and size of 147 grain is actually used by the largest city in the state of Ohio's police department. Now, speaking of that, they're going to use something that's effective. They're going to use something that's tried and true. So what I do is I carry the same ammo this police department does because of self-defense situations. You rarely hear of anybody having to be taken down by several shots with one of these rounds in the biggest city in Ohio. Rarely. So if the police department trusts this to protect themselves, their lives, and their fellow officers, and us, and the good people in the public, wouldn't you trust this in your gun for your self-protection? So what type of self-defense ammunition do you carry? That's the question I have. What do you trust to protect you, your loved ones, and other good general people and public around you while you are carrying? What round do you carry in your firearm?
And I brought this up years ago.
I remember that video.
It's probably been at least probably 4 or 5 years ago, but I brought it up, and the FBI and a few other departments carry the HST, and that's all I've used since I saw a lot of the different videos that they produced and showed what that round will do.
Yeah, because there's a lot of self-defense rounds out there, a lot, but not all of them make the grade for police use. You know, they do extensive testing and shoot thousands of rounds of these.
it's looking at what it's going to do and really think about how many rounds you think you're going to get downrange. And to be honest with you, when you get in that situation, you ain't getting a whole lot. You ain't. Period. You're not. You might think you might be able to get an entire magazine or this, that, the other downrange. It ain't gonna happen, folks. It's not.
Average
No.
gunfight's about what? 3 shots, 4 shots.
Two to three, I think.
3 to 5 rounds if you're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
So
And-
do you? So do, and the end product and the end thing. Do you have something that works?
Right.
Well, and you know, I brought this up over and over the years. People always say, "Why carry a revolver?" Look, think about it, folks. 9 times out of 10, again, you're gonna get 3 to 5 rounds tops. Do you really think a revolver is that inadequate?
But it goes boom every time.
It's really not that inadequate. And if you
If
know
it-
how
it-
to use it,
If it don't
and-
go boom, you pull the trigger again.
you know where, you know how to aim, this, that, the other, you're on point.
Gene,
So-
that's interesting round. What bullet is that?
That's a Winchester. I got it here. It
Is
is
that
a-
available for reloading though?
I don't know if you can get the bullet for reloading, but it's a Winchester USA Personal Protection 9mm Luger 147 grain jacketed hollow point.
Right.
Is what
And,
this is.
and I don't carry loaded ammunition in my personal defense gun just because of liability crap.
Yes.
I kind of cut the difference and do a 124 gold dot, which is also proven. I like that round, but the 147 is going slower, but that thing would perform big
Yeah.
time.
And
Yeah.
that's what that. So I have the privilege of seeing a lot of this come through the shop. So in turn, I've put it into my firearms because it's carried by a very large police department, and that is their mainstay for 9mm for self defense.
I'll say this. So it was probably, I'm going to say probably 5 or 6 years ago. It is when I came across federal HSP, and I came across how not just the military, but the police force and so many others were using this round. And I really looked into it before I carried it. And when I saw the results from everybody, that's when I switched over. And that's the only round I've carried since. It's the only round that I trust since. And I know a lot of people will go out there and go, well, you make your own ammo, this, that, the other. Why don't you carry your own loads? Look, I'm not worried about the things of people going, well, you're making ammo for this, that, the other. I don't care about that. I care about, is it going to perform or not perform? And I know out of all my testing over the years and how many times I've shot these rounds, and I've shot well over probably about 3,000, 4,000 rounds of HST, I know they're going to go off every time I pull the trigger.
Yeah. Then what it comes down to is if you are concealed carrying, or maybe look into what your local police department, or sheriff's department is using for self-defense, because what they're using has been tried and true. There are several very, very good brands out there, the HSTs, these Winchesters, and there's a couple others out there, but there's a lot out there that underperform, and the police departments and the sheriff departments and all these other agencies are not going to use something that's underperforming. They're not.
Well,
There's
well,
too
well,
much testing involved. Too many
well,
contracts involved.
Hold on. I gotta argue on there for a second. And I gotta argue because you say they're not gonna use something that underperforms or does this or does that, but they all carry a Glock.
Oh, shut up. Just shut
No,
up.
they don't. We had an incident.
They're all full of shit.
We had an incident on my street where we had the guy get into a knife fight, and all the popos showed up, and just about every one of them showed up, and they were all carrying Smith and Wessons.
Well, I will tell you this though, like
I was
I've been-
nosy.
been into a gun shop before, and like they'd be out 9mm. It's like, dude, how come you ain't got any 9mm? And they're like, well, either the city police or the county come in about every 9mm we had, and that was every brand. They didn't care what it was.
If they're out plinking, yeah, and they don't have a contract with a company.
Well,
there's another police department that I know of that has a contract with PMC, so all their range ammo is PMC. There's other smaller police departments that are going to use whatever's there, to go out for range day. They don't care. They're just shooting.
Well,
but what do they carry for? What do they carry for the actual self-defense ammo?
If I might interject, from my 300 blackout days, where there was so little information and you had to prove a bullet worked, I got into ballistic steel, and I got it. I found a way to make it, or not make it, but buy it and melt it down and then reform it, and using wet pack to simulate that. I just tried out my own rounds and said what works best, and penetration, expansion, blah blah blah. Guess what? I came up with what our sheriff's department carries. So I went to a lot of trouble to. Gene's giving you a good shortcut,
Oh yeah, I mean that's great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm just bringing the issue to life. It's just
carry
something
what
to
works. Carry what works.
That's it. Carry what's going to work.
Well, carry what works for you, and that's the big thing. Is people get too stuck on trying to find this, that, the other, instead of focusing on what's working for you. What can you actually carry and shoot well? What can you sit there and go, I can take this gun out of my holster, pull the trigger, and know I can hit my target? And that's the biggest thing of it. I don't care what fucking caliber you think you can carry. I want to care about what you can shoot and shoot accurately. Y'all hear me talk about 44 Magnum all the time. Guys, I love 44 Magnum. Absolutely love it to the T. It's my favorite caliber. Guess what? I'm a big bore guy. I can shoot that all day long, and I absolutely love it. But it's not for everybody. The average Joe cannot take a 44 Magnum, walk outside, shoot it, and hit their target. They just can't. And it's not saying I'm a badass by any means of the matter. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just explaining to you that, to me, I know that caliber, and I know I can walk outside, take the average firearm from someone else that's a 44 Magnum, pull the trigger, and still hit my target. Average Joe out there is not going to be able to do that. But my point is, simply find what caliber you're comfortable with, what you can feel you're okay with, and go out there, shoot it, and be able to hit your target. That's what you carry, and that's what you break yourself down to and understand. Yes, I can do this. I can do that. Period.
Gene, that's a very thought-provoking. What's Hot Pot got?
I know. I knew it. I had to poke.
Oh yeah. So there are people all the time that talk about 45 versus 9mm. I'm like, you're comparing, if you're carrying a 1911, you got 7 shots. Okay, that's great. That's great. Maybe 8. Can you put them on target? Let's see. It looks real bad in your holster. Can you put them on target? Most people shoot 9mm very, very, very friggin' well, and there's a reason it's a popular cartridge. It's not by just a fluke. It's not because cops are a bunch of weenies and have to have a less recoiling round. A less recoiling round lends itself to rapid fire hitting targets. And I watched a video the other day where they had not a body cam, but a gun cam. Some department in the United States actually installed gun cams. And this guy went to arrest a child molester, a real dirtbag. And the dude had a sawed-off shotgun in the vehicle with him. And he's like, all right, get out of the car, get out of the car. Well, the guy whips out the sawed-off shotgun. It's got a pistol grip on it and brings it to bear and fires one round. Fortunately, it was a bird shot, hit him in the shoulder. And then the gun cam starts. And he lit that SUV up. I mean, he lit it up, did a mag change with a bad shoulder, brought it back to bear, lit the SUV up again. Didn't kill the guy, hit him like 8 times, but it was kind of telling. Not watching that gun cam go wham, it was going pop, 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 pop. And he was rapid firing it, so it got him where he needed to be. He had enough rounds to just drop that situation to 0. Even though he took like 111 bird shot to the shoulder. So it was pretty telling.
I still like the 1 round and done.
Well, that in in the movies that works great, but that don't always happen. You saw a video last week of a guy who they pulled over, state troopers pulled over, and he started screaming Black Jesus, and he beat the living snot out of that officer while the officer was yanking the trigger on the taser, and the officer was doing everything right, but he just beat him mercilessly, and then he stole the car. Ultimately, he ended up dying. That's usually what happens when crazy people steal a car, a cop car. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know what he was on. I haven't heard that, but he was absolutely impervious to that taser. Impervious. He wasn't impervious to 9mm rounds, though.
No. It's pretty simple. Don't do dumb shit.
Well, he did very dumb stuff. Yeah.
Look, we all have a great love and fondness for our Second Amendment, right? And there's anything one of us wouldn't do to protect it. But the simple thing of it comes down to look, there are limits. And you got to understand that there are people who are out there who are supposed to protect our freedom, right? And we're not supposed to be stepping over a mark. They're not supposed to be stepping over a mark. And so we got to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do while they're doing what they're supposed to do. It's a fine line. It really is a fine line. And there's a lot of things that come into question. And you'll see a lot of videos out there where a lot of stuff comes into question. But in reality, it's knowing when to stop and step back and say enough is enough, and be able to try and talk the situation down and figure out the best way out of that situation.
Well, and just to simplify things, don't jump out at a deputy, start swinging at him and screaming "Black Jesus," okay? Because your blood pressure is going to be zero in no time. All right, I mean that was crazy. It was nuts.
You'll take the daily temperature challenge real quick.
Yeah, dirt nap.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you straight up, man. Look, over the years, and it's no joke. Over the years, I shit you not. All right, as someone who has been, and I don't like saying this because people take this the wrong way, but as someone who has been passionately trained over the years in how to defend themselves, and all the years that I've been doing this, all the years that I've been trained, and so on and so forth, people always go, "How many fights you been in?" And you know what I tell people? 0. And you know why I tell people 0? Because I haven't had to be, people. You know why I haven't had to be? Because I've been able to talk my way out of every single confrontation people have tried to get me to break down and get into a fight. And the simple fact of the matter is I've been able to talk my way out of it because people will try to break you down in a certain manner, and so long as you can figure out and understand what they're trying to do, you can get yourself out of it.
Well, Jason, I will tell you this. Despite what your mama told you, sometimes violence is necessary.
Oh, no. Trust me, it is. It is.
Yeah. I've had a few incidents.
No. Absolutely. I will be one of the first people to tell you absolutely 1,010% violence is necessary.
I've had 2 incidences at my store where I thought, okay, this is going down. And I actually told one guy, and yes, I used a Tombstone reference. I told him I was going to turn his head into a canoe, and he hot-footed it out of there pretty quick and it de-escalated. So, but
no,
you know,
I actually so when I first became a supervisor years and years ago, I had an FBI agent come into the store, and he wanted to try a pistol in a holster. And he literally flashed his badge at me and blah, blah, blah. I want to do this, that, the other. I'm like, that's fine, but you still got to go up front and clear your weapon. And he was arguing me back and forth because I'm a law enforcement officer, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, I don't care who you are. You need to go clear your weapon. Period. And he was arguing me back and forth, blah, 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 blah. And he went to put his hand on his gun. And as soon as he went to put his hand on his gun, I looked him straight in the face and I'm like, look, I'll get fired, but I'm telling you right now, I will jump over this fucking counter and I will literally kick your ass. And as soon as I said that, he just kind of looked at me. He's like, what? I'm like, dude, I'm not playing with you. I don't care who you are. I will jump over this counter. I don't care.
Okay, with that, we need to get a little bit, I don't know how we can say more serious than what we've been talking about, defending ourselves. But, it's past time for our verse of the week. Tonight is Good Friday. Tonight is the night that we commemorate and remember and take a moment of self-reflection as we remember the crucifixion and the burial of our Lord Christ Jesus. So to commemorate that, I'm going to do a reading for y'all. We're going to start in John chapter 19, and I'll just stop when I feel like I need to. We'll answer some questions later, and then we'll clear the deck for Kentucky Rimfire. So John chapter 19, Mark Thomas says, he is risen. The appropriate reply is, he is risen indeed. John chapter 19. So then Pilate took Jesus and scourged him. And the soldiers twisted a crown of thorns and put it on his head. And they put on him a purple robe. Then they said, Hail, King of the Jews! And they struck him with their hands. Pilate then went out again and said to them, Behold, I am bringing him out to you, that you may know that I find no fault in him. Then Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. And Pilate said to them, Behold the man. Therefore, when the chief priests and officers saw him, they cried out, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. Pilate said to them, You take him and crucify him, for I find no fault in him. The Jews answered him, We have a law, and according to our law he ought to die, because he made himself the Son of God. Therefore, when Pilate heard that saying, he was the more afraid, and went again into the praetorium and said to Jesus, Where are you from? But Jesus gave him no answer. Then Pilate said to him, Are you not speaking to me? Do you not know that I have the power to crucify you and the power to release you? Jesus answered, You could have no power at all against me unless it had been given to you from above. Therefore, the one who delivered me to you has the greater sin. From then on, Pilate sought to release him, but the Jews cried out, saying, If you let this man go, you are not Caesar's friend. Whoever makes himself a king speaks against Caesar. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he brought Jesus out and sat down in the judgment seat in the place that is called the pavement, but in Hebrew, Gabbatha. Now it was the preparation day of the Passover, and about the 6th hour, he said to the Jews, Behold your king. But they cried out, Away with him, crucify him. Pilate said to them, Shall I crucify your king? The chief priests answered, We have no king but Caesar. Then he delivered him to them to be crucified. Then they took Jesus and led him away. Verse 17, and he, bearing his cross, went out to a place called the place of a skull, which is called in Hebrew Golgotha, where they crucified him, and 2 others with him, one on either side, and Jesus in the center. Now Pilate wrote a title and put it on the cross, and the writing was, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. Then many of the Jews read this title, for the place where Jesus was crucified was near the city, and it was written in Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. Therefore the chief priest of the Jews said to Pilate, Do not write the King of the Jews, but he said, I am the King of the Jews. Pilate answered, What I have written, I have written. Then the soldiers, when they had crucified Jesus, took his garments and made 4 parts, to each soldier a part, and also the tunic. Now the tunic was without seam, woven from the top in one piece. They said therefore among themselves, Let us not tear it, but cast lots for it, whose it shall be, that the scripture might be fulfilled, which says, They divided my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. Therefore the soldiers did these things. Now there stood by the cross of Jesus his mother, and his mother's sister, Mary the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing by, he said to his mother, Woman, behold your son. Then he said to the disciple, Behold your mother. From that hour, that disciple took her into his own home. After this, Jesus, knowing that all things were now accomplished, that the scriptures might be fulfilled, said, I thirst. Now a vessel of sour wine was sitting there. And they filled a sponge with the sour wine and put it on hyssop and put it to his mouth. So when Jesus had received the sour wine, he said, It is finished. And bowing his head, he gave up his spirit. Therefore, because it was the preparation day, that the body should not remain on the cross on the Sabbath, for that Sabbath was a high day, the Jews asked Pilate that their legs might be broken and that they might be taken away. Then the soldiers came and broke the legs of the first and of the other who was crucified with him. But when they came to Jesus and saw that he was already dead, they did not break his legs. But one of the soldiers pierced his side with a spear, and immediately blood and water came out. And he who was seen has testified, and his testimony is true, and he knows that he is telling the truth, so that you may believe. For these things were done that the scriptures should be fulfilled. Not one of his bones shall be broken. And again, another scripture says, They shall look on him whom they pierced. After this, Joseph of Arimathea, being a disciple of Jesus, but secretly, for fear of the Jews, asked Pilate that he might take away the body of Jesus. And Pilate gave him permission. So he came and took the body of Jesus, and Nicodemus, who at first came to Jesus by night, also came, bringing a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 100 pounds. Then they took the body of Jesus and bound it in strips of linen with the spices, as the custom of the Jews is to bury. Now in the place where he was crucified there was a garden, and in the garden a new tomb which no one had yet been laid. So they laid Jesus because of the Jews' preparation day, for the tomb was nearby. Now on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb early while it was still dark, and saw that the tomb had been taken, seen the stone had been taken away from the tomb. Then she ran and came to Simon Peter and to the other disciple whom Jesus loved, and said to them, They have taken away the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him. Peter therefore went out and the other disciple, and were going to the tomb. So they both ran together, and the other disciple outran Peter and came to the tomb first. And he, stooping down and looking in, saw the linen cloths laying there, yet he did not go in. Then Simon Peter came following him and went into the tomb, and he saw the linen cloths laying there, and the handkerchief that had been around his head, not lying with the linen cloths, but folded together in a place by itself. Then the other disciple who came to the tomb first went in also, and he saw and believed. For as yet they did not know the scripture, that he must rise again from the dead. Then the disciples went away again to their own homes. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for putting up with that with me. And I hope that meant something to y'all,
Means everything, Jamie.
because it did to me. Walter?
There's so much going on in that story, and there's parts of it that are hard to bear. But I think I've talked to you guys about this before. When I read the Bible, I try to reinterpret it for myself and try to place myself in that situation and use today's language that is more familiar to me, and it's becomes much more visible to me that way. And I can just picture Mary Magdalene, and I did some studies about her because I think she's just a fantastic character in the Bible. And when she goes to the tomb and sees there's nobody there, she turns around, beats feet, and goes back to where the other disciples are and says, "Hey, he's gone. There's no trace of him. He's gone." And Simon Peter and whoever the other disciple was, we don't know who that was for sure, they take off running, and the other disciple outpaces Simon Peter and gets there first, but he didn't want to go in. And Peter catches up. You could just see him panting. They're trying to figure out what Mary was talking about. And Peter goes in and says, "Man, she's right there. He's not here. There's no sign." And the wrappings and stuff are sort of folded up, and it doesn't look like there's hadn't been anybody in there. And then the other disciple says, "Well, if Peter can go in, I guess I can go in too." And then Mary catches up, and this is the part that almost makes me catch my throat, because I think Mary Magdalene was probably Jesus' most beloved and most faithful disciple. And she truly did love Jesus, like I think in ways that the other disciples didn't. She was with him a lot and knew him, I think, better than anybody else. And she felt very close to him. Well, when he's gone, and she doesn't get it about why he's not there, and there's angel there, and the angel said, "Woman, why are you crying about?" She said, "Well, they've taken my Lord, and I don't know where they've laid him." And she turns around and sees somebody outside the tomb there, and since this is in a garden, she mistakes who she's seeing to be the gardener, but it's Jesus. And this person, she still doesn't know it's him. He also says to her, "Woman, why are you crying? Who are you looking for?" And she starts going through the same story. "They've taken my Lord, and I don't know where they've laid him. Mr. Gardener, if you took him, tell me where he is, so that I can go to him." And then Jesus just calls her name. He just says, "Mary." And right away, she knew who it was. She knew his voice, and that catches me, because I can just picture that scene.
She didn't recognize him till she heard him say her name.
Yeah, and I can just picture Jesus standing there and just calling her name, and that's all he said to her, is Mary. She knew.
I only got one problem with what you said, Walter, and that's that part about we don't know who the other disciple is. We know who that was.
Well, yeah, but
we're not supposed to, but we do.
Right.
It's good to have firearms and fellowship out there, and me and him are going to be getting together to do some stuff. But yeah, when you're reading John's gospel, pay attention to the disciple whom Jesus loved and the other disciple and all of that. That's all John. It's all John. He's trying to be humble, but we know it's John. So anything else? 6, you good?
I'm good.
All right, well, let's start going through the room then, and we'll clear the deck as quickly as we can for Kentucky Firearms. And again, thank you guys for indulging me with the reading tonight, and means a lot to me. This is Good Friday. So, Mark, you want to go first, brother?
Sure. Been a great evening. Thanks for having me. Wonderful, and I am both proud and humbled to be part of a group of such great Christian men who know what counts. As far as my plans this week, probably the same plans for the last 3 weeks that I haven't been able to get to. A video on that 41 Magnum Contender and a couple other things I've acquired since then. So just been a pleasure this evening. Thanks for having me. Moving on to Kyle.
Thank you for being here, brother. Go ahead, Kyle.
And like Mark said, I'm happy to be here, and I'm grateful to have such amazing friends. I want to wish everybody a very happy Easter weekend, very happy Good Friday. Hope y'all can get together with family and friends, and let's celebrate our Lord. And that's about all I got.
Thank you for being here, Kyle. Hot pot.
Well. Thanks for having me on tonight. Happy Easter to everybody. Right there with you, Walter. So let's see. Going to go work tomorrow all day at the studio over in Columbus. Sunday, I'll probably spend the day working on my BMW K1600B. Put some parts on it there. I'll probably doing a video on it here soon after I get everything installed. Give everybody a look around at it if you'd like to see it. It's nice for having me on tonight. Wish everybody a great, blessed weekend. And you know it's only once around the ride. So you always got to remember to keep blowing that smoke.
There you go. Thanks, Gene. Go ahead, Walter.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the invitation, as always, to be here and participate with this group. And it just seems like it gets better and better every time to me. I don't know about you fellas, but it's a good place for me to be. I'll leave that where it is. As far as what's coming up, Sunday I'll be spending time with family up in a little town north of here. If you ride motorcycles, you know where Hollister is, and that's where I'm headed. But the bad guys are not there anymore. So tomorrow, anybody know what happened 250 years ago tomorrow on April 19th in 1775? I'll give you a hint. It went bang, and it was across the bridge between Concord and Lexington. Tomorrow is the 250th anniversary of America's shot heard around the world.
I was about to say, it was heard around the world.
Yeah, our gun club has got a event. I told them I was going to go, but they start at sunrise, and then it's an hour and a half drive away. I kind of think I might not make it, but we'll see if I get up in time. I got to leave.
Oh, you're saying you're not going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning like me?
I
he's
really
saying
don't
that.
think so. Don't think it's going to happen. I got the patch though.
Well, you can always drive over and sleep in the car.
Yeah, you can do that. Anyway, we got video coming up next week on YouTube and Rumble and et cetera, et cetera. Nothing real thrilling. Rest of that wad cutter video that I put out Wednesday, and believe it or not, I still got probably 10 more wad cutters that I haven't shown you guys yet.
Oh, and Walter, I wanted to say to you in person, that is a sexy mold on that 44 Magnum hollow base and flat base wad cutter.
Oh, that MP mold.
I would be more than happy to send you some lead if you could send me some bullets for that thing.
Oh, I'll make you some bullets. You don't need to send me any lead. You want them like wheel weight hardness good enough?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make some up for you the next casting session someday.
That would be amazing. I just thought that bullet was just sexy.
Okay, I'll make up some of both. Give you some hollow base and some flat base.
That'd be amazing, sir. I'll make it up to you.
Sexy bullets.
All right, that's it for me, guys.
Hey,
Rebel, what's happening?
Go ahead, Rebel.
I got to work tomorrow. Hopefully we have a pretty good Saturday, and I'll do my usual thing on Easter Sunday, and I'll wake up before dawn, go out, smoke my pipe, watch the sunrise, and think about our Savior, and I feel closer to him that way here in Vail, watching the sunrise, than I do any other place. So, except maybe on top of Flat Top Mountain, and I can't get there right now due to Helene. So, that's what I'll be doing Sunday. Hopefully, Monday or Tuesday, I can share some fish pics with you guys. Like to get out with my new boat and try out the new sonar. And we had an accident on Lake Norman last week due to a professional bass fisherman. Apparently, they were flying low into a cove and not wearing their life vests, flotation devices, which is against the law, and looking at maps and everything except we're straight ahead of them, hit another boat. Everybody got flung out of the boat. Nobody got killed. Lots of injuries. and charges. So you want to stay away from the lakes when the professional bass tournament is on, because it's like the Wild West. I've never seen a bass swim 80 miles an hour. I don't know why those guys have to do the whole shot. And, my little old boat goes 35 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, and that's fast enough for me. So I stay away from busy weekends but ready to get to fishing, guys. That's my other love besides reloading and shooting. So pitting my big brain against the fish's pea brain, and sometimes they win. So that's hopefully what I'll be doing. Six.
Thanks, Rebel. Go ahead, Six.
All right. Well, thanks for letting me be on again this week. I missed y'all last week. I tried to stay in the chat a little bit, but I was beat for that day after a long day out there at the range. So, but we got some reloading to do tomorrow. It's supposed to start raining here tomorrow, so we're going to try to load up that 7BR cast bullets tomorrow. I've got some gas checks coming and some Hornady FTX bullets coming for the 357 maximum. So we'll be trying to load that this week sometime. Hopefully we can get to the range next weekend with all that stuff. So I still have a couple videos I haven't made yet. I need to get those done. And we do have a camping video coming up in the morning. So hopefully we get better at the camping videos. The first one kind of sucked to me, but we'll get better at it, figuring out what we need to do and all that stuff. So. All right, that's it for me.
All right, thanks for being here, Scotsman.
All right. I haven't done a video yet, but I'll say it here first. So, folks, you're gonna see something different coming from me. You're not gonna see any more videos on this channel whatsoever. Period. Other than the live stream, and simply what that is. If you folks don't know about Pop Goes the Weasel, Pop Goes the Weasel is a tribute to our good brother and my good friend, Mr. Holster. And all videos going forward from this day forth will be on that channel. The only other videos you will see on this channel will be live streams, period. Nothing else. So, I know a lot of folks have been happy to see a lot of videos here on this channel and this, that, the other, but I'm done. And it's not because of YouTube and whatever BS that they got going on. I'm simply trying to go ahead and put forth what Mr. Holster was trying to do back in the day. And so all my videos going forward from this point on, they're all going to be on Pop Goes the Weasel. So I think I have one video that I'll be making that will go on this channel. Prior to that, past that, they're all going to be on Pop Goes the Weasel.
Good to know.
But we will continue the live streams on this channel. That's where the live streams will stay. But going forward, every other video minus the live streams,
they will all be on Pop Goes the Weasel.
Good deal. Good deal.
Thanks, Fred, for the link. Always on it.
He is. All right. You done, Scotsman?
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for being here, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate all you guys on the panel. We couldn't do what we do without y'all. And we especially appreciate all you guys in the side chat, all of our viewers. Thank you for watching. We love you, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. We hope the Lord blesses you all real good. And if he's willing, we'll see you next Friday night at 8 o'clock. Say good night, y'all.